You're listening to season 3 of That's Not How a Baby Sleeps. I'm your host, Alicia Daishon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Aleni Katsinis. We're not your average sleep consultants, no cry it out or sleep training at all for that matter.
Alicia, I haven't seen you in like a decade.
5 years or something.
A decade?
Actually, maybe 6 now. It's 2026. Like I took the course. It was 2020. So
was it 2020? That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
So interesting too, because I feel like I've been on my Instagram like just slowly deleting accounts because I'm just getting all the I don't scroll anymore because it's not good for your mental health. So I don't see anyone's posts. Like I don't know what anyone's doing. Unless somebody tags me in something, like I have no idea. But
same.
I didn't even know you two ladies were doing this together. Like
here we are.
Like
we're together.
How did you find each other?
I think it was actually the Facebook group. I think Aleni made a post just after she got certified and was like, hey, is like anyone looking for help? I was like, I want help. You can come help me.
Okay.
And then we just became internet friends. And then we decided to start the podcast eventually.
Well, I love this. Okay, well, listen, I'm happy we can chat baby sleep.
Totally. Start.
I'm going to let Aleni lead the conversation because I have a sick little one home with me who might interrupt at some point in time, but hopefully not.
That's fine. I locked my dogs away so they can't like bark mid podcast. So
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's all good. Cool.
Awesome. Well, Lauren, thank you so much. We're so excited that you are on, and me and Alicia won't even be here together without you. So it's really exciting to like all come together and do this because, you know, I was struggling with like after the certification, like what to do next and how do I do this business? And I really wanted a mentor, and Alicia became my mentor. We were working together like with clients, and then I felt confident enough to go on my own. But we're like, let's do this podcast because we still want to be together and talk every week. So we created a podcast together. So we're so excited to have you. But for anyone who's new to you, can you share a bit about your journey, both as an educator and as a mom, and how that led to the world of sleep that you're in now?
Yeah, so I've had a wild career. I'm telling you, I've done everything under the sun. But when I was in my like early 30s, I decided I wanted to go back to school. Truthfully, I just wanted to live in Australia. So I moved all the way across the world so I could live in Australia, and I went to teachers college and I was certified there to become a teacher. Spent some years working as a teacher and then went off work when my oldest was born. And kind of tried to find a way to continue working with children without actually working with children because I wanted to stay home with mine. And ended up having what would have been like a pretty difficult baby in the best possible way. She had so many underlying challenges that I didn't know at the time, and also feeling really overwhelmed with all of the pressure to do certain things with her. And realizing that once I kind of married my educational background and what I knew about working with 4 and 5-year-olds, and then looking at my sweet baby and seeing that the expectations for her were basically the same as the expectations for 4 and 5-year-olds, I started to ask a lot of questions. But in the middle of that, I was exhausted as a new mom with a baby who didn't sleep. She woke up every hour. She would spit up so much that I ended up in the emerge at one point thinking she just wasn't taking anything down. I had the most excruciating breastfeeding experience, like toe curling, just horrible pain. We hired so many people, like massage therapist. We took her to like osteo, like we just did all the things with her. And I couldn't figure anything out. And then my now ex-husband at the time came home with a great idea from all of his friends at work that if we just put her in the crib and left her in there, that it would be a good idea, that she had to learn how to self-soothe and that she needed to be independent and we needed to start it now. And it was really important. I ended up going down the path of sleep training oldest, and I felt sick about it. So I still remember all of it. It was not at all what I wanted to do. I felt pressure to not respond. I felt pressure to teach her to self-soothe. I felt pressure to make her be independent. And then I thought, okay, well, I don't want to go back to work as a teacher. So what could I do? Oh, well, I know about sleep because I did cry it out and like, I know what I'm doing. And so I started to look into becoming a sleep consultant, and I thought that in the same way that you would go to school to be a teacher, you would go to school to be a sleep consultant. And I ended up in a sleep certification that was comical at this point. I look back at it. Back in the day, there was only one. I think there's only like two at the time, and started learning all these things about sleep, and then really just sitting with the fact that actually none of this makes any sense, and that sent me down a completely different path of really starting to figure out like, what can infants do based on their brain development? Like, what is possible? Like, what does normal infant sleep look like? And then I had my second, and we did everything differently. So I ignored all the noise. I was just basically in survival mode. But especially with 202, we ended up bed sharing. We ended up just like not following any rules. There was no schedule. There was no nothing. And my motherhood experience was just so much more enjoyable. Then I started helping families with more of this approach to sleep, and then ended up deciding in 2018 to build a certification. That's how I know you ladies, because I realized that when I first started, I was like quite the target because I was one of the only ones doing this. Sleep coaches were so angry at me for sharing about sleep training, and parents were angry at me for sharing about how sleep training worked. So I developed a bit of a thick skin, I would say. But then I built this certification, and now there's like 700 of us probably using our voices to talk about normal infant sleep. And so that's my long story for you.
Well, it's such a powerful, beautiful story because, like you said, you obviously had a struggle, right? Like a lot of us did. A lot of us did struggle with our first time children, like mine and Alicia. Alicia did sleep train her first daughter for a little bit. And then she's like, whoa, like, what am I doing here? Like, this doesn't feel right. So she was as well certified. I think you know this, right? Alicia, can you touch on that more? Like your first certification?
Yeah, it was pretty much the same situation as you were in. We did sleep training with my first, and it worked for a period of time until 9 months hit and started waking up again. And we started responding. And I was halfway through my sleep certification because it was the same thing. I was like, I don't want to go back to work. I want to stay home with my kids. So halfway through that sleep certification, and I'm like, okay, like she's waking up again. They're like, oh, you have to retrain her. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I thought I taught her this like life skill. And I was really excited for the certification because I was like, well, I want to know why. Like, what's happening when we're self-soothing? Like, someone explain this. And they're like, well, they're just self-soothing. I'm like, but how? And I came across one of Lauren's videos, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes a lot more sense. And this, I'm not doing that. And then I nursed her to sleep until she was 3, and then I finished the certification, but I was like, I'm not using any of these methods at all. I took like the sleep sciencey stuff from it, and I was like, no, I'm going to figure this out on my own. And then, yeah, around 2020, I was like, Lauren, I want to join your course, please. So here we are.
I love it. I think the cool thing is like we're still asking so many questions. Like I still have so many questions. Like I have been doing this for so long, and I'm still like, well, hold on a second. Like really? Does that really make sense? And I think like that's one of the things that I really love about this community of coaches is everyone's asking questions. So, I think at the end of the day, I always say to parents, like you just know. Like parents just know when something's right or when it's not right. And I don't know, we have a responsibility now because I feel like the sleep training experts, their voices are getting quieter. I think we're getting louder.
They are. Great.
But I love, yeah, like I had a similar experience. It's just like, is that really right? Like, is that really what they're doing? So yeah.
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 Amazing. It's amazing. So you coined this term, baby-led sleep approach, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain to those who they know what it means because they listen to our podcast, but can you explain in your own words what that means?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I've really had to sit with like my approach has changed so much like from the time that I first started, but I think that this gets misunderstood a lot. But the point of the baby-led approach is that we're putting the needs of the baby first. So essentially, we're really prioritizing their need for contact, closeness, and proximity, and that informs our entire approach. So we don't use any separation-based methods or anything to get babies to sleep. So we're putting their attachment needs first. And so what we really want, that still means that the parents, as much as we say the baby is leading, they're not leading. Their needs are leading our approach. The parent still needs to be in the lead. And so what I really wanted to do is just make sure that we were shifting from this obsession to sleep to this obsession to meeting our baby's needs and specifically their attachment needs. And that's the main premise of the approach that we use. First helping parents to understand like what's normal. So, and we can only understand what's normal when we look at it through the lens of attachment, right? So we look at what's normal and then we work with parents to say, and this is what's not normal. So we still do a lot of that, as you know, with like red flags and identifying anything that might be causing more wake ups. I would say like probably 50% of my clients, I don't know about you guys, but I would say about 50% have something else going on. And, these parents feel like they just need to wait it out. I'm like, I don't want, you're going to be exhausted if you keep this up. So, and then once we establish what's normal and what's not normal, then like, how do you feel about sleep? Like what's working for you and what's not working for you? And what can we do while still meeting, again, putting the focus on those attachment needs?
Yeah. That's beautiful. And I feel like our approach is so different, obviously, right, than your mainstream sleep industry. And it's often very misunderstood. Like in the beginning, when I was explaining what I did, I definitely lacked some confidence because I was like, wait, I don't really know what this is in a way. Like it feels right to me and like my instincts are leading me, but like, what does it really mean, right? And there's like this misconception of attachment focused or baby let's sleep. So I guess what do you think when you talk to parents is like the most misunderstood about this?
Well, it depends on the parent. So I have one camp of parents who come to me who are very attachment parenting focused. And those are my parents who think that in order for their child to have a great attachment, that they should never be upset. So there's like bending over backwards. Like you don't want to go to sleep tonight. You want 18 books instead of one book, like whatever you want, I'm just going to do it for you. And so there's just in that sense, there's a lack of understanding of the fact that in order to be in a healthy attachment relationship, one has to lead. The adult, the parent has to lead and the child has to be able to depend. So part of that means setting healthy boundaries and loving limits with our children so that they can feel safe and secure. Then I have this other camp, which is like the sleep training camp almost, which is, well, you're not going to be able to do it as good as like if I just did cry it out or if I just whatever, it's going to be a lot faster and you can't get the same results or you can't whatever. So I would say I kind of have like I get both of those sides of it, and so we can still do everything that somebody could do using separation, but we just don't do it through shutdown. So that's the difference. And if there's an underlying issue, the sleep trainer can train the signaling out of that child, whereas we need to make sure that we're referring out because we understand that that's not going to go away even if a child stops signaling. So
yeah, exactly. And I feel like too, with a lot of moms, especially that we speak to, they feel like they're failing, right? They feel like they're failing their child if they're not sleeping or they're not a good sleeper because they're not sleeping through the night. And the worth of them being a mother is really determined by how their babies sleep.
And this so wild. Like, think about this.
Right?
Think about how crazy this is. Like, imagine you judged your ability, like how great you are as a wife based on how well your husband slept. I mean, seriously though, think about it. Like the fact that we think we can control somebody else's like basic functions and that we judge ourselves based on how well their basic functions function is wild.
It is. And I feel like with this approach that we teach families, we do a lot of that, right? We do a lot of the education of that everything they're going through is normal and obviously like coaching them. Like I know we're like emotional support people for our clients too. It's not just about sleep, right? So what would you tell a mom who came to you and said that, right? Like I feel like I'm failing or I'm failing my baby. They're waking up often. I know you can probably say a million things, but one thing you would tell her.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one that I come back to all the time is what I just shared. Like, just like you're not responsible for your partner's sleep, you're not responsible for your baby's sleep. Like there's nothing that you're doing or not doing. It is a biological function, just like eating and eliminating. And so again, I think really, and I'm sure you guys have noticed this, is like reframing what's normal, because the problem is that the majority of their friends who have sleep trained, who have used like a cry it out approach, what their baby is doing, they're sleeping the same, but they're not calling out. So the parent is sleeping differently. So their impression of what sleep is happening, my friend's baby, they're sleeping through the night. No. They're waking up the same. They're just not signaling. And so this is where I like to reframe that because I think that that's really helpful.
Yeah. It is for sure. So, from your perspective, what actually creates long term healthy sleep, especially in babies and toddlers?
Making sure that sleep is a pleasant place to go and a safe place to remain. I say that all the time. And so that's always the goal. And I think it's so interesting. I work with adults now quite a bit, and it's so crazy how much anxiety some of them have around sleep. Like that it's not a pleasant place to go, that it doesn't feel like a safe place to remain, that there's a lot of stress around sleep, especially when they can't sleep. So it's so funny because babies want to sleep. Like they like it's supposed to be a good thing to be able to lay down and go to sleep. So the last thing that I want is for babies to be feeling stress from their parent around something that's so natural, which is sleeping.
Exactly. Yep. And then obviously that creates that lifelong healthy sleep habits that they're going to develop and create. I think it's so interesting because I'm not sure if you saw Tiffany from Co-Sleepy. She was on a really popular
Oh,
podcast
I
and she
watched this podcast. I did.
did, but she talked about how she has anxiety as an adult with sleep because of how her parents had her sleep as a baby. And she's like, it wasn't my parents' fault. They just like did the best they could at that time. But she's like, as a grown adult, I have so much anxiety and fear when she comes to sleep. And that's after all those years. So, I mean, in all your research, right, and everything you've learned and spoke about with so many people, like, do you find that as a correlation?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people can't pinpoint.
Yeah, I've
Like,
heard.
and it's even hard for me to reflect all the way back. Like, I don't know the details of what my parents did. I could guess.
Yeah.
I could make an educated
Assume,
guess
yeah.
on what happened. But people don't go that far back, right? To be able to put all these things together. And at the end of the day, the basic core learned thing is like, I'm separated from the people that I love, and when I need them, nobody comes. Like that in itself, like that shapes your earliest experiences, right? And so, to the degree that you're aware of that, and like to the degree that that soaks into every, not just sleep, like every part of who you are, right? Or when you cry and you're upset and you're too much, you get isolated. And I think most of us can see that one come through, right? In like when we're really upset, we isolate, we can't like cry in front of other people. We don't want to share. We're getting better, I think. But again, we've have a generation of people where that's what we learned. And so these are showing up in adults, and that's where again it like drives your passion, right? Too, to be able to say like, hey, this is really cool that I'm not just helping parents with sleep, but I'm going to influence an entire generation of parents to have children who don't have those struggles or those issues.
Yeah.
It's so much more
Oh,
than
so
sleep.
much more.
It's crazy.
Yep. It's like
Love
a
it.
true movement. It's so like powerful and like empowering. It really
Love it.
is because so many people are like, well, they want to work with us, and right? And they're like, well, fix this sleep issue. I'm like, that's not just about that.
Yeah.
Like when we're done working together, I'm going to empower you so greatly that you will feel confident when challenges do come up that you will face them
Yeah.
because we did those tools, which I think is so much more powerful than getting your baby to sleep to 12 hours straight, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it
But
really
this is
is.
the whole point. I think like when you really realize, like when you have a mom who's so rock solid in her views where there's no wiggle room. And when you can give her that, that's not just a learning as a baby. That learning continues. Like for her to go inside of herself and say, yeah, nobody knows my baby better than I do. You walk into a classroom on the first day or after 2 weeks and the teacher says your child has this or nobody knows my child better than I do. And we won't be doing that. Like it's that keeps going, right?
Yeah.
Like to be like, tune out
Yep.
all the noise. You don't have to participate in any of this. And also, 90% of what you're hearing, somebody's benefiting financially from whatever that is, right? So, these are where, again, this is why I love what we get to do because it extends through a lifetime, which is so powerful.
Yeah. And now my kids are a little bit older and stuff. I'm
Oh,
definitely seeing that with like, because they're school aged and everything now. And I'm like,
Yeah, but
Okay.
this is the cool thing. That's why I even like I love working with toddler parents because you get to really get into like how the brain works and what they're capable of and what they're not. And then when you see it, because even as a teacher, there was stuff like I wasn't taught any of that stuff. So you're going through like punishing kids, like disciplining kids, timeouts, stay in for recess, all this stuff. And then now when you see them through a different lens, but if parents had that information, it's powerful information.
Yeah, it truly is. So you just mentioned about teaching. So your background in early childhood education and play-based learning is obviously so unique in this sleep space. So how does that lens change the way you look at infant and child sleep?
Yeah, I think the biggest part was spending so much time with that age group and seeing what they are and are not capable of. And especially from a regulation perspective and like, to be able to understand the root of the behavior that I'm seeing. And also understand what separation from their parents, like what does that look like in a classroom, and how does that impact function, like what parents are seeing at home versus what they're seeing at school, and really like sitting with how crazy that is with these little, like they're 5, 4, and 5, like they're still not in a place to be able to handle themselves, control themselves, all of that, and then we turn around and we say that babies should. Like it's crazy, So,
For an adult either,
well,
right?
and that's why like I love Deborah McNamara's book about how to make sense of preschoolers or anyone that behaves like one. And I think, like, listen, in full transparency, my self-regulation skills are subpar, like I still,
Yeah.
if that,
If
like, it's
that
like
for
I
me.
still catch myself. I'm like, like if you put me in a little kid's body, I would be running around hitting everybody, like it just is not so, again, when you start to see kids at 4 and 5 and you see them in a classroom and then you turn around and you're like, no, there's no way that that baby or that toddler has that capacity. So
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you help families understand sleep as part of development, not something separate or something to fix?
yeah, so I mean, I think even just starting with the fact that like so much of their brain, it's not like 6 p.m. rolls around and their brain just stops. We just assume, oh, at like 6, their brain turns off and it turns off until 6 a.m. And so part of I was thinking about this the other day. It's so funny because we go to these like remember going to all these mommy circles and people be like so excited, like, oh, my baby's walking or they're crawling or whatever. And obviously they're comparing my kid to your kid. I can't believe your kid's not doing that. But then with sleep, the expectation is a perfect night of sleep where our baby doesn't wake up at all. When in reality, so much of growth and development is actually happening at night. So when we look at things like sleep progressions and stuff like that, it's like, why aren't we celebrating in the same way that you want to celebrate the little one crawling? You should be celebrating the 4-month sleep progression, the 6-month sleep progression, all of those developmental leaps that are impacting sleep, right? Oh, your baby has broken sleep. They must be going through a developmental leap. Let's celebrate that. And that's the thing too. Like our little ones are like so excited in the middle of the night because they learned something new and they just want to let us know, right?
I think it's funny too because sleep trainers will often use that as like a selling point. It's like your baby's waking up at night, it's going to affect their development long term. And I'm
No,
like,
no,
no,
it's actually beneficial. But
no.
again, there's like nobody said
Yeah.
that to me in my certification that their development is happening at night. Like I really truly think I came out of that being like, oh, so like 6 o'clock, 7 is like the magical number, and then they just shut it all down until 7 in the morning.
Do we do that?
No,
No.
well, I mean,
No.
somewhat.
Yeah.
But again, if you were starting a new job and you had all these new things to learn and you're trying to like go through all these things, you might wake up at 2 and be like, that document that I was supposed to do, like I think I was supposed to do, you know what I mean? We're still doing stuff
Right.
like that, right?
I still compare. That's something I use often, comparing it to like a developmental progression. I'm like, it's like if you're an adult and you have something
Yeah.
going on the next day, your mind is not turning off. It's going wild the same way a
Yeah,
baby would be
or
doing
another good
when
one
they're
too.
going.
I was thinking about it the other day, like the amount of times that I have an early flight. And so I wake
Oh,
up like 6, like my mind isn't shut off. It's like, you got to get up for the flight. You got to get up for the flight. You got to get up. You know what I mean? But yeah.
yeah. I know we always say like developmental progression instead of regression, and people really love that term. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, that sounds so much better the way you say it. We're like, yeah, because it's not, we're trying not to be like it's a
No, it's not.
negative thing. Cause like Alicia, it is a sleep training selling point. And so if we try to look at it as a positive thing and help our babies through it, because like when they wake up in the middle of the night and they want to have a crib party or have a party, I'm like, it's okay, let them crawl around the floor. They're like, oh, I can do that. I'm like, of course
Yeah.
you can.
Get the end
Don't
of
you
you.
think though, when you
That's-
say that, of course you can do it. I think this is like this, I say this is always like the saddest part of this job is that the reality is that we're literally only here to be like, actually, you know your baby best and you can do what works for you, which is so crazy. Like it's like we've had to counter the sleep training industry. Like that's why we're here, right? So I mean, obviously,
It feels strange when somebody's asking
yeah,
permission. They're like, that's okay. I'm like, it's your baby.
yeah,
Do whatever you
yeah,
want.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. So do you feel
Crazy.
like that is the most overlooked then? Developmental needs of babies is that overnight, like it doesn't stop
yeah.
overnight, obviously. Most overlooked, yeah. So you've experienced both postpartum sleep deprivation, right? And then insomnia as an adult. So how do these experiences deepen your understanding of sleep beyond just babies?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one. I will say, I think learning more about adult sleep and the impact of insomnia on mental health has really kind of opened my eyes to the real impact of sleep deprivation in motherhood. Unfortunately, we like can't make up lost sleep. My bigger concern is that we do have like our sleep architecture actually changes when we bed share. So there's some really cool studies about how our bodies actually cope and adapt with less sleep in motherhood to an extent. And so where I think it gets really interesting is that one of the biggest triggers for insomnia is a major life event. And so I actually see a lot of moms whose babies are sleeping, but then they cannot sleep. And this is where, like, that's where you have to really marry, like, is this working for you or is it not? And take it very seriously when a mom says, I'm literally at rock bottom here. And so we have to work with what's normal. And we also have to take that seriously, that change needs to happen. That's why I love our approach too. It's not a waited out. Like we have so much wiggle room of things that we can do with parents. And I even think from a breastfeeding perspective, you know, we have so many IBCLCs in the course where we're even able, like there's things that we can tweak and that we can do to continue to support a breastfeeding relationship, but that are also going to support that 5-hour stretch. That's what I say is like the magical number. Like how, if you have hit rock bottom, how can we get you 5 hours of sleep for like 2 weeks? And like, what does that do? Because again, coming from the adult perspective, I just have more and more of a concern of developing chronic insomnia after having a baby and the mental health impact. And I think this is something I really want to dive more into about the fact that oftentimes we look at lack of sleep and we blame that for the mental health component. But if that were a complete like given, everybody, every new mom would have mental health challenges. So some do and some don't. So what's the actual relationship of what that looks like? Because I do know insomnia does impact mental health. And that's, you know, it is interesting and definitely something to, you know, really look into, but it's not the solution for all your mental health challenges, but it is definitely there's a link for sure.
Which makes sense, right? Especially if they're in that survival mode of like their fight or flight, or like they're so stressed out and their nervous system has to be completely shot, and their mental health maybe was already not the best before having a mom, and then all that stuff is just layered on top of
But
each
then
other,
you
right?
add to that, it's your fault. It's your fault that your baby doesn't sleep. If you just, and I can't tell you how many moms I meet who are like, so on Thursday, the 22nd, we went out for 2 hours and then I did this sleep sack and then I did this pajamas and then I did this and then I got a 4-hour stretch. Then I tried to replicate it on the 23rd and it like what's wrong with me that I'm not, so like not only are you not sleeping, you're desperate for sleep and you're wearing this heavy, you know, just weight of something is your fault. And this is where, again, I think it's just important. And part of what I really want to even emphasize and revisit in the certification is more around the fact that we do have a responsibility to these parents when they're at the bottom and they're struggling. Like we need to take that 5-hour stretch seriously. And how can we do that?
Yeah. I think a huge piece that we always talk about is obviously your nervous system regulation, right? For yourself. And we know babies co regulate with our emotions. What would you say to a mom that's struggling with that? Because obviously, just saying, don't be stressed, it's easier said than done.
I think one of the most powerful things that we do that last a lifetime is understanding that we don't have to fix anything, that it's okay that our children get upset, and that it's not our job necessarily in those moments to fix it. It's our job to support it. I think when parents start to see, especially moms, I always like to use the example of like when you're having a really hard day, like you call your best friend because you know they'll just listen to you cry and sit with you. They're not going to try to fix it. They're not going to try to stop it. They're not going to put a tub of ice cream in front of you. Like they're just there and they're going to listen. And that we want that same relationship with our kids. I think taking the pressure off that, like, of course your kid's crying. Like that's their only way to communicate. And then also like trying to talk yourself through it. Like, well, you know, first we went to the park and then we whatever, like I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm right here with you. And like just taking the pressure off that we have to fix it or make it go away. And I think like all of us, you go out into a store and with a crying baby, even if you're fine with it, no one else is. Like you almost need it to
No.
stop because it's making other people uncomfortable. Like they look at you like you're a bad mom because your little one is like crying or upset, even if you're holding them. You know, what's wrong with that lady? Why doesn't she just feed her baby and make it stop? So, you know, we have a generational problem, multi-generational problem with that like we just can't handle emotion.
Yeah, I know. I always tell Alicia this too with like my niece. When there was a situation when she was a baby, she was crying because she was a baby. She's crying. Everybody in the room is trying to get this baby to stop crying, clapping in her face, like doing all these things, like distracting her. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, if I came crying to you because I was upset, would you start clapping in my face? Like, no, stop crying. I'm just
Stop,
like,
stop.
this is not everything is just like, but obviously a lot that we do is with
Yeah.
co-regulation, like I said, with our babies co-regulating. And there's so many times I'll talk to a client, I'm sure with Alicia too, I'm like, we really need to work on this co-regulation with your baby. They're going to sense those things, especially if they're highly sensitive babies and if you have a highly sensitive mom. And I know one of the questions we have on our intake form is like, how are you feeling about your mental health? Are you seeking therapy? And that's a really great thing for us to know, so we know that they're getting help in that area, right? Because we're not mental health counselors. How do you approach this, right, with clients? How do you approach this with moms? Or either how are you telling coaches how to approach these situations?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a good amount of training in the course from actual mental health professionals because at the end of the day, we really can't move forward if someone is really struggling with postpartum depression or anxiety because it's going to impact every area. What often happens is they will go and see their doctor and the doctor says, well, if you just sleep, then we won't have this problem. So now they've painted now the baby is the problem. And so the mothers looking at their baby is the reason for their mental health challenges. So, I mean, it's good if we can, obviously it's great if we can work with as a team, like, okay, so you are getting that therapy and you are getting that support. And then the really good thing about our approach is we're just working with each family's like individual and unique needs. So understanding like, can we support emotion? Like, is it possible for you? Is it really triggering? Do we have a partner to step in so that we can get like even that 5-hour stretch and see how you feel after that, but just really just walking carefully to make sure that we are referring out everywhere that we can and making sure as mom is getting enough support there. But we can tell, like you can usually tell, I think there's still this stigma around like postpartum depression and anxiety. Like a lot of people don't want to talk about it. And I think sometimes the other big challenge is people just believe that the only option is medication. So if they don't want to do that, then they're keeping it quiet. So I think, again, like some of our coaches are just so good at opening up really vulnerable conversations. Very often, like the things come out in the call where it's like that person hasn't even sat with that, or there's not even a recognition or awareness of the fact that they're really struggling until they say it out loud, or even to have their partner hear that, right? Like to be like, she's really struggling. Like, do you hear her in her voice? Like, so again, we have a lot of opportunity to do that, but that's where like, I don't know, I'm just so proud of this community for just being so sensitive in that area, and also just knowing and being confident and sure about when we need to make sure that there is that additional support, because sleep is going to trigger things if it's not addressed.
Yeah. Exactly. And I feel like so much of us hold that space, which is really like a beautiful thing. Like I've had so many moms cry to me, but they're like, I'm so sorry I'm crying. I'm like, I appreciate you crying. Like, thank you for crying because you're showing me that you feel safe enough to cry in front of me. And like I'm honoring that. I'm gonna let you cry as long as you want. Go ahead and
Yeah.
cry. If this is the whole hour, I don't know, you want to cry, I'll listen to
Yeah.
you cry. So like it really is truly a beautiful thing because like we keep saying it's not just
No.
about sleep. That is like sleep is like the last thing, like everything else that
Yeah.
leads up to it,
But
right?
that's why I also love what we do, because they come in for sleep and we're like, no, let's completely change your life. This is going to be so great. Like, we're going to talk about all the good things. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. So now, after over a decade of working with families with their baby sleep, it led you into more adult sleep. So can you just talk about that and why it led you there? I know you talked a little
Yeah,
bit
but
about
this
this,
is
but
getting so wild. I'll just start here. I took the same path. Okay. Like, I was like, okay, how do people address sleep in adults? And I'm not a lover of medication, of any form if we can avoid it. And I took the same kind of curiosity about baby sleep and I like dove into adult sleep and learned about what is the gold standard for insomnia, which is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. So CBTI. And, first of all, it's so wild, ladies. It's so wild because all the things that you do in CBTI, like think about how you solve a split night. Okay. That same
yeah.
strategy is now being moved on to adults. So we use sleep compression and sleep restriction therapy to close their night. So if they're up in the middle of the night, okay, we're closing the night, which is wild. But it's so restrictive that you can only go to like certain clinicians and you got to get on a list. Anyone who lives in Canada knows you're going to be on a list for 5 years to see these specific people to do this specific thing that we do with babies. And so it's been this crazy journey of like actually just reprogramming adults to be able to sleep. Like we live in such a busy time that we don't give ourselves enough time to wind down, to process the day. We have all these bad habits that we call relaxing, like scrolling, watching TV, and like just being out late on weekends, eating late, eating garbage, all these things that we're doing. And then we're like, why am I not sleeping? Well, you're not sleeping because you're not taking care of yourself. So it's been interesting because I'm almost at a place. So there's a 40% dropout rate for CBTI. Okay, because it's too strict. And people like me who get obsessive about their sleep, it triggers the opposite, right? Where you're like, I did all the things last night and I only got X amount of sleep. And then you're like logging it. And so one of the things is that I struggled with a bout of insomnia after going through divorce. And everything spiraled. So like I was sleeping 3-4 hours a night, couldn't eat anything. I lost a ton of weight. My anxiety was through the roof. And I would get into bed and I was like, I'm so tired. Tonight's going to be the night. We're going to go to sleep. And none of it was working. So I'm fascinated with adult sleep now because like so much of the root of disease is actually lack of sleep. And I don't think anyone's talking about it, or they're not talking about it enough. Like people call it a pillar of good health. It's not a pillar of good health. It's actually the foundation for good health. And you would be shocked at the amount of actual medical conditions that are the result of people not sleeping. All of your repair, your immune system, all of this stuff is like nighttime sleep stuff. Your memory, your mental health, like all of it. And that requires like deep sleep as well, which is what I found fascinating because as we age, specifically as women, but all of us, as we age, our deep sleep starts decreasing. So you got to be so careful with your habits around sleep time to be getting that like deep restorative sleep that you actually need. So this has been now I'm on a path of hormones. I'm super fascinated by hormones and sleep, but I've taken the same approach, which is to build in like a couple different ways. Like I do some CBTI, but I'm not strict on it. So I've modified all this stuff. And then I've added in like a functional tests for insomnia because there's a lot of underlying nutritional deficiencies, hormonal things that can impact sleep so that like clients can take that back to their doctor and look at that. And then we also have just like all the sleep hygiene stuff. But 90% of the people who would come to me who aren't sleeping have already either tried CBTI and they've already done all the sleep hygiene. So it's like really about reprogramming yourself, taking all the stress off. Like, it's okay if you're not sleeping, let's rest. Like, what does that look like if we're just resting? And kind of uncovering the why. Like, why do you want to do this? Like, why is this important for you? But it's been a fascinating, you really change someone's life when they start sleeping
Oh yeah,
again. Like, they
totally.
don't even know how garbage they feel until they start sleeping. And then they're like, oh my goodness, like this is how people function in the day. The problem, I will say though, is getting people to take it seriously. Like, a lot of people just, I have insomnia, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'll get it through a couple hours, I'm fine. I'm just like a short sleeper. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah. Wow. So you're working with
Yeah.
adults one-on-one then? And you created your own
Yeah,
adult
and I have my
certification?
I got to finish marking your assignment, but I think I've got my first graduate, which is exciting. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice because if you're working with moms or you're working with families, like sometimes you find out, like even to be able to scan, like, oh, hold on a second, that person has all the signs of sleep apnea. Like when the mom is saying, I can't sleep because my husband's snoring so loud or he's taking pot, like, to be able to catch all the things across the board, and also to be able to help mom with strategies if she's not sleeping right away.
Yeah. Wow. That's so empowering. That's great.
I just think it's so cool that you really are looking at
Yeah.
it as a whole for an entire family and stuff. Because I do hear that a lot. Like, when my husband snores and he wakes the baby up and wakes me up, and I'm like, why is your husband
These
snoring?
are
You shouldn't be doing
these
that.
are the things that's all connected, right? Or like my mental health is suffering. I'm like, oh, well, like, why your baby went to bed at 7? Why are you up at 11? What are you doing? Like, let's talk about how like you had a 4-hour stretch and you didn't take it. And these are things that are, I mean, you point it out to people and they're like, okay, but sometimes there's blocks that get in the way that like are keeping them from being able to actually sleep. But again, I will say, like, I feel like the biggest barrier is people just don't care. Like, they just are, you can function and feel normal with no sleep for a very long period of time. And I will say the majority of people actually get sick before they care about their sleep. And so to point out that all of this is all related is interesting. But again, it's another industry, right? The mattresses, the cooling mattresses, the supplements. I get emails at least twice a month, 3 times a month for some big, like, can you trial this? Do you want to sell this to your clients? It's another industry, right?
Yeah. And we don't want them to be like reliant on all these medications, obviously, right? Or these supplements, even with like melatonin. Like we did a whole
Yeah.
episode about melatonin with children. We really don't want that reliant for a
No.
long
And I
period of
always say
time.
too, like melatonin is another one where I see it more in adults than kids, but I'm like, it's a sleep timer. It's not going to get you to sleep deeper, but also there's like sometimes like 100 times more melatonin in that little container than is put on the actual package. Like, it's not regulated. And so you just, again, it's masking an underlying challenge. And I think even the amount of clients, like another clientele is people who are retired and they don't have any work or they're not doing, so they're like, oh, this is a great time to fix my sleep. They've been on sleep medication for 10 years. No one told them that there's no long-term safety data. No one told them that it's not safe at all. Like, they should have been on it with a plan to taper off of it. No one gave them a plan. And now they have a rebound effect where now the medication is making the sleep worse and then they can't get off of it. Again, it's just, I love like to be able to look at sleep holistically and be like, okay, and we can actually change. There's so many little habits and things that we can put in place to make a massive difference in people's sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. So now we're going to shift more into your growth with like mentorship and like all of our wonderful coaches that we have. So you've trained and mentored so many, including us. What qualities do you think matter most in a truly supportive sleep coach?
So in a coach, or do you mean me in mentoring?
Both. Sure. Go with both.
It's so, I want to say this like vulnerably, and I'm going to share it because I haven't really talked it out loud, but I'm a fixer and I went into this profession because I wanted to help people. One of the things that I didn't realize would like deeply affect me in having coaches or training coaches is like holding so tight to the success or failure of their businesses. And I had to take a step back for a while because it really affected me of like not being able to like seeing people start and stop or like not wanting to continue or whatever and just wearing that, right? So I think that was like, it's one of the things, like, it's a beautiful gift to care about people and care about whether they succeed or they fail. But, and it's the same in coaching, right? Like with us, right? Like you want to fix it, you want to make it better. And sometimes our job is really, and this is, we talked about it a little bit today in our monthly coffee, to come alongside people, because ultimately it's your business. It's not my business. We're not going to do it the same. It's your baby. It's not my baby. I'm not going to do it the same. So I think like one of the biggest qualities that I think is so important now that I didn't realize is important is owning what's yours and supporting, loving, guiding what is not.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you have, so there's so many of us, which is so cool. It must be so cool to see that, right? Like the growth that you started out with versus what you have now. Like there's so many
I
all
know.
across the world,
It's,
and we're all
but
doing,
even today,
which is
like with
really
people
cool.
who jumped on the call, I'm like, I don't know that I've ever seen, like, I don't know you. It was so, it's so
Yeah.
great. It's just like, I love still meeting people. If they went through the independent study and they didn't ask any questions, I haven't met them.
Oh, that's true, because you're not doing like that live with them. That must be so exciting to see
Yeah.
them and see where they're, where they are now and like how far they've come. But like you said, with like if someone did start and then stopped, it has nothing to
No.
do with you, obviously. It's like their own journey or what they're going through, or maybe it's something that they completely pivoted
Yeah.
because, things come
Yeah.
up.
And they might come back to it. Maybe they
That's
want to
true.
do
That's
adult
true. It's
sleep
always.
next.
So, what excites you the most about the future of baby led and holistic sleep education?
Yeah, I just really think we're doing such meaningful work. And I said this at the beginning. It's just like, I feel like if we could get an entire generation of moms to say, absolutely not, like, I'm not buying your baloney, like, I don't participate in this. I just think about the massive change and impact that that would have if they're no longer participating in any of this nonsense. And so my goal is that we continue to do that. I feel like the sad part is there's countries around the world that had never heard of sleep training. Now it's like infiltrated into their countries as well. Like it's time to push it all out. And I will say, I feel like I've been sent a couple posts where somebody like from a sleep trainer or whatever, people are starting to call it out. Like I really see that. I think there is a shift. I think that things are changing. And so I really feel proud of this community because it's gotten big and people have gotten loud. And I think the more moms are starting to see this, the better, right? So that just, I mean, that excites me because how cool would it be to have a generation of moms that are like, yeah, you're not the expert. I'm the expert. And to take their power back.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's like our movement. Me and Alicia talk about it all the time. I'm like, we're going to be, the top coaches that you see online, like instead of all the sleep trainers and all that stuff. Like, and I know that's how we all feel. So it's
Yeah.
super exciting. But, for practitioners who are listening who feel torn between that, right? The industry norms and then their instincts. I know you already mentioned this, but what encouragement would you offer them?
Yeah, I would just say, I say this all the time, is like whatever you're hearing that is making you feel like you need to go against your instincts. Again, I always just say to people, who is benefiting from this advice is the basic question that you have to ask yourself. Somebody's benefiting financially from you not doing what you think you should. And I think our instincts are there for a reason. Like we shouldn't feel sick in how we're parenting our children. And if there is a drive or desire to go to your baby, to cuddle them, to snuggle them, all of those things, then that's something that we need to do. It's just hard right now because, we're parenting without a village. We don't have the support that we used to have. So like sometimes we're just like desperate times call for desperate measures, right? So, but then we need to call it what it is. It's not our baby's problem. It's a lack of support for new parents, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so common, unfortunately. We'll hear that all the time, right? Well, like, I don't have the luxury to not sleep train because I have to go to work, 6 weeks postpartum because I'm in the United States.
Yeah, you're in the States.
Yeah. So we're like,
we're in Canada.
yeah. And we're like,
Yeah.
my partners pressure me to sleep train. Like, they're not supportive of helping overnight sleep. So we hear so much. And I feel like what we do is so heavy sometimes because we're really holding space and we're trying so hard to fix it when I know we can't always fix it, but just like offering that guidance. And we actually both had our partners on the podcast to talk about like one partner wants to sleep train, one doesn't. And like our partners are both so about this attachment focused sleep now because they hear us like blab all the time, but they love it too, which is amazing. But
Yeah.
you know, not
No, I'm
like
like
that.
Lenny's husband's always in the comments on all the sleep training posts and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I know him. I'm like, oh, Dave.
It would
Oh,
be really cool to get him to coach the dad. Like, I really wish I have one, believe it or not, ladies, I have one man who went through the certification. I don't know where he is. He signed up a year and a half ago. I don't know where he's gone. He's not, he doesn't join any, I don't know. Who knows? But like, how come we don't have a coach for dads? Can you make Dave do
yeah,
it? I think
yeah. He can. Are you gonna do another certification, Lauren, and be like, just for dads, coaching other dads?
I mean, I don't know. Like,
Not a bad idea.
well, he's learned enough from you. You guys could couples coach.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we talk about that sometimes. And like, I know a lot of moms are very open and vulnerable when they're just speaking with me. Like, even when I do my in person events, I say, like, oh, do you want your partner to come? Do you want men present? Do you want, dads? And a lot of people say no. They're like, no, I want to come and talk to other moms. I don't want my husband there. I want to talk
Yeah.
about my husband. So, you know what I mean? So I totally get it. But sometimes it really is great. Like, I do have dads come on calls sometimes, or I do have dads involved, which I think
But you
is
should
really
offer
beautiful.
up Dave
But,
to
so
like be there. Like, do you want couples
Yeah.
coaching or just me?
Yeah. All right. That's a good idea.
Dave can talk about attachment forever. I love it.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
It's amazing. So lastly about the certification, you have had so many amazing like special guests, like experts, like so many of them. We love them all, but Dr. Gordon Neufeld is like, I wish I could meet that man and like give him a hug. I just adore him. I adore his work, and just like listening to him, every time I hear him, I just learn something new, even though I already know everything. Like we talk about his work all the time. So you have a special relationship
No,
with him,
so
obviously,
my
right?
relationship is with Deb. No. So I have,
more on Deb,
so
okay.
I did his intensives. So I've done all of them. And then I built my relationship with Deborah. And so she is the one that I know. That's why she's like in the course, and she contributed a module to the course. Whereas with Gordon, I just have his intro to new parents video that he had online. But I read like, it was really through his intensives that I like learned about the Neufeld approach. I think I think the whole backstory is, and I'm trying to think because this was what, like a long time ago. I know what it was. I found Gabor Mate because I found him. And then I found the book, Hold On to Your Kids. Then I found Dr. Neufeld. Then I found his course. Then through his course, I don't know how I met Deb, but she's become one of my favorite humans. We like to have coffee like once a month. I think she's a really important contact being a mom. I think she has a better maybe understanding, like when she really writes her books for like for toddlers and that specific, like for younger kids, I feel like she's got a really good understanding of that. But yeah, I mean, listen, his work is brilliant. And I think, her work as an addition to that is absolutely brilliant. And I think it's obviously shaped and changed how we see babies and infants. And I do hope that it grows for them. There's a lot of programs in schools that are based off of certain experts and behavior experts. And I'm hoping that, again, their voice can get louder in that domain as well, and hopefully start to influence in that.
Yeah. Totally. It's a beautiful dream team that we have creating here. So with the baby led sleep certification, you are closing the live, right? Certification. You're pivoting more to
I think
independent.
so.
Is that true?
Like, I don't have
Okay.
any intention of doing another live one. I'm running one live cohort now where I'm going to take coaches, students, and new students through. And I want to rip the entire certification apart, just make sure that we've got all the up-to-date research, that we're really like asking questions. Especially now, I feel way more comfortable and confident in saying, I don't know. Like, let's go back and make sure that we really have thought this through. And so it'll be cool to also decide like what's important and what's not. Are some of these videos, can they be like optional?
That'll be a really great opportunity for anyone who wants to jump in, because we can link everything, because you're going to start
March
in March,
6th,
right? That's your plan?
March 16th, I think, is when it starts.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you want to be a coach,
it's a really cool opportunity, I think, because it's going to be a really great cohort. And like, I mean, I have coaches in there that did my first certification in 2018.
Wow.
So it's going to be an
That's so
awesome
cool.
opportunity.
It really will. I just love when we all come together, because any coach I talk to,
No.
it's no competition. It's not, because all in different areas. we all specialize in different things. You know, every mom's gonna vibe with one person over the other. Like that's it. You know, me and Alicia always talked about we are such a great team because she loved the sleep science stuff. And of course it's important, but I'm like, I love the attachment. I love the connection. Like every time she'd answer a question and be sleep sciencey, I'd be like, well, how about Virginia's information? You know, like it always, that's just why we made a great team, and everyone just has their own specialties, and it really is such a beautiful community.
It is. And I'm glad we can start these monthly coffees up again, because it just felt like I felt really disconnected from people. Like they would graduate and there was nothing else. But I feel like we're still learning together, which is great. And it's just it's just a cool community of people. I really do love it.
I know, it's the best. So Lauren, if you can go back and speak to yourself as a brand new exhausted mom, what would you tell her, or what would you want her to know about sleep? Just one thing. I know there's a million.
I think in general, not just about sleep, but like just lower the bar. Like you take somebody who's an A-type obsessive perfectionist and you give them a baby and things spiral pretty quickly, you know? And I say this all the time, like there were years where it was like, if everybody made it out of the house with pants on, we won, you know? And I think if I just had lowered that bar a little bit, I would have enjoyed it more. And it's easier said than done. I hated hearing, you're gonna miss this, you know, when you're in the thick of it. But now, like I tried to pay my 11-year-old daughter the other night to sleep with me, and she said no. So just so you know, like they don't come back, you know? And I'm glad that I did all of that with her, because I look back now, and if I had never had that opportunity, I would feel sick. You know, so I got a lot of years with her, I think until she was 9, which is a long time. When we went through the divorce, we had to move into a rental for a year, and I slept with both of them when they were 8 and 10 for an entire year. It was the 3 of us in the bed. But you can't get that back, even if you pay them. They don't participate.
You never know. Maybe in a couple of years. Did you hear that little story of the older mom talking to a younger mom about, like, she was saying like, oh, my baby like is still sleeping in bed, like I'm so exhausted. She's like, you know, don't worry, like one day I'll stop. But she said a story about like her teenage son like came into bed with her and he was crying but wouldn't tell her why. Then he finally said, my girlfriend broke up with me and everyone made fun of me, and then he fell asleep with her. And he was like 15. So it was like a really, I don't know if it's a true story, I just saw it online. Like, it's a beautiful thing to think like that safety you created,
It's
right,
gonna
as a young baby
come
toddler,
back.
like
You know
one day.
what? When my kids have kids, I'm gonna let them live with me, and I'm gonna sleep in the bed with all of us.
Yep. Or whoever they're with, their partners can just go somewhere else.
No, it'll be me and my daughter and her baby.
My oldest always asks that. She's like, do I have to? I'm like, no, you don't have to move out. You can live with me forever.
And I love having you every minute of it. Yeah.
I know Nora said to me the one day, she's so funny. She's like, if I have kids one day, like, can I just live with you with my kids?
Of course you can. You never have to leave.
I know.
Just wait until they're preteens. This is next level parenting. Let me tell you, ladies, you thought toddlers were hard. You just wait. It just gets better. You got to check everything times 100. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna miss this.
I'm telling you right now, I'm already like, how am I gonna parent? What do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. 13 and 11. So they're gonna be 14 and 12 next month. Yeah, and let me tell you, 13, it's like I need a whole new manual. None of this stuff. Yeah. It's just, this is not and with social media and like phones and stuff like that, like we've just tried to keep everything. I kept her in a bubble for so long. It was beautiful. I sent her to a new school this year and I'm like, what are these kids talking about? What? This is, you ladies just wait.
Thank you. We're so excited.
Just like sometimes I'm like, I just think I should just keep you in my house like all day. Don't go to school. Anyways.
That's why I'm cool.
You just wait. This is anyways, but yeah.
Well, now you're not in the season of like, you know, waking up with the baby every night anymore. So how do you find rest, and what does that mean to you right now in your season?
So I find like this word of rest, okay, Like, I mean, I have really struggled with this. This is not something that I'm good at. I remember listening to Dr. Neufeld say something about how you can tell the state of your mental health by whether you can play or not. So I've been really on a journey. I've cut out anything that is not helping me grow. I've stopped watching TV. I say no to almost everything now, and I don't care. I don't want to be invited to your wedding. I'm not going to be offended if I'm not there. Like, really and truly. Like, I'm really in a state right now of I enjoy moving my body. I enjoy a nap in the sauna. I enjoy reading. I enjoy doing puzzles. On a Friday night, my dream, gym, sauna, book, bed. That's it. That's all I want to do. And I am obsessive about resting because my mind is so busy. And so but it has felt like an active process to get to a place of rest. I think we really need to sit with and examine whether we find our value and our self-worth in productivity, in the things that we do, on the things that we can show, right? The reality is your rest is so, so important. And so this is, again, sometimes it takes a lot of work to reprogram yourself. I don't think being an entrepreneur helps either. Like, I think there's always something I could be doing. Like, I started if you ladies could see my desk in front of me, I've got like massive stack of paperwork, but I got puzzles everywhere. Like, but this is where I've just had to actively step back and be like, there is one person you can't do anymore. You need to prioritize your rest.
Yeah. That's very important. So where can listeners find you and learn more about your work, whether they're a
so I'm
parent or a
mostly on
professional?
Instagram. Isla Grace Sleep is my ISLAGRACE sleep on Instagram. I would say I'm probably most active there. If you want adult sleep stuff, I'm on LinkedIn right now, Sleep Help for Adults. And then my website, islagrace.ca, is another great spot. But yeah, thanks for
Awesome.
having me.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to connect with us beyond the podcast. You can find me on all social media platforms at moonbay.sleep. And for more sleepy goodness, you can head over to Instagram and follow Aleni at Rooted in Sleep. Until next week, keep embracing the chaos.